Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family. Since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal and an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio.
Welcome to Strong Dads. Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson today, and my buddy Kyle is not with us today, and so I'm having to carry the load all by myself. But that's okay because I brought in a special guest, and so I actually didn't bring you into the house. I brought you into the Zoom, right? We're still in Zoom land with, one, you're out in Phoenix, so it would be kind of tough just to get you here otherwise. But anyway, my guest today is actually always been a special person in my life for varieties of reasons and mostly inspirational kind of reasons. But I've known this gentleman since 1980. That's 40 years. Man, and it's hard to believe he's only 40, so I wasn't at your birth. He was my swim coach at South Dearborn High School, located in Aurora, Indiana. I believe it was probably his first coaching job as a profession. And he coached there for several years. And at that point, he went on, left, but stayed in the swimming world. And in fact, now, actually, I believe he owns the Swimming World magazine, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark.
I would like to welcome to Strong Dads today, Brent Rutemiller. Brent, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a wonderful day here in Phoenix, Arizona. We hit like 105 last week, but right now we're topping out at 90, so it's really pleasant.
You got a cool way. We have been actually miserably cold around here, and today it actually got in the 70s. So,
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Now you said 40 years, and that that's 2 scores. So
yes.
Yeah. 2 scores and a few days ago.
That's right. That. Yeah. So anyway, before anybody of you of our Strong Dads out there, before you tune us out and think, what are they going to talk, swimming or whatever? We're going to go way outside of the pool today, right? Brent, you have an incredible story, not just around the pool and the swimming world, but just as much so in your own personal life. And because of the mission here at Strong Dads to challenge dads and to make dads stronger and really to bring up to the conversation the importance of dads, your dad's story is one that's always grabbed me. And I've reached out to you because I feel like if you were willing, that your story could really impact our fathers out there today. So anyway, we're going to spend some time talking your story, but you got to let me pay a few bills, okay?
Go for it.
All right. So Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer's Beer House for being one of the sponsors of our Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House, located on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio. Also, we want to thank Mansfield Insurance, located in Bright, Indiana. They are also one of our proud sponsors of the Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So for all your insurance needs, contact Mansfield Insurance. All right. So, Brent, I'm going to let you start with your story. And if you don't mind, I feel like for the sake of setting this up a little bit, I would like to give my brief little description of who I thought you were.
Well, thank you. That should be interesting because I'm not quite sure who I am right now. So maybe you can help me.
Well, I was one of your swimmers, right? I was one of your swimmers, and you came into us. I was 16, 17 years old during that time, and you came into us. It was I believe one of your first professional teaching, coaching jobs. And we just thought the world of you because you brought a ton of energy into the school, but the swimming world more specifically. And we looked up to you for a lot of reasons. One, you were fun to be around, but you challenged us. But you had a presence about you that was just very confident. Maybe even cocky, okay? Maybe even a little cocky at times, but we always appreciated it. It was never out of line or anything like that, but you were just very ready to take on the world, full of ambition. And so that's kind of always been my picture of, man, Coach Rudy, he's always kicking butt and taking names, that kind of thing, always getting it done. And all of a sudden, when you left the Indiana area and started your family, which was not immediately after that, but several years down the road, family life threw a little bit of a curveball, if you could say that, at you. So maybe if you could take off from there, because now you know what my image of you was, and where are you now?
Well, thank you for letting me share this story. I really appreciate it, and perhaps people can understand this. The quick gist of it, for those people who are still here, I have 3 children. 2 of them, 2 boys, are handicapped, and that's the story that I want to tell. How you can keep your marriage together and raise 2 children out of 3 that are one is educationally mentally handicapped, and my youngest is severely handicapped. And in between there, I have a daughter who's absolutely brilliant. So how do you keep life normal for her, and to keep the family together? Most marriages break up with one handicapped child. To have 2, is very unusual. And so. Yeah, I was a very, as a young man, I had big dreams, and I wasn't afraid to chase them, and I'm still not afraid to chase them. I left Indiana with 3 suitcases and a one-way ticket to California.
Yeah.
And I made a name out there, and I've gone on and do that. And I met my wife along the way. Brilliant woman, biomechanical engineer. Comes from a long line of engineers. Her grandfather headed up Skylab for NASA.
Oh wow!
Her father developed heat-seeking missiles. And on the other side, she had an engineer grandfather who developed, of all things, he worked for DuPont. He developed Lycra, the material Lycra.
Oh, we're very familiar with Lycra, aren't we?
Yeah, well, that's part of swimming too. So, together, my wife and I, and we got married, and we decided to have our firstborn. So our youngest boy's name's TC, and when he was born, he wasn't hitting all the ABSCAR scores and all the stuff that the doctors tell you, and he was actually couldn't keep his food down for a long time. He was always spitting up. So the first 4 years of his life, I mean, every place we went, we would he'd spit up and we'd clean it up. So there was a point in time where we didn't think he was even going to live. So actually, it was the doctor was going to put him on a feeding tube within 24 hours, and I turned to the doctor and I said, look, give me 24 hours. And if I can keep 8 ounces of fluid in there, 8 ounces of food in there, give you another 24 hours. And I locked the door, and I was the only person in that hospital room for 24 hours. And I sat next to him, and I had this little puppet in my hand, and I would sit there and distract the puppet, and I'd give him 2 ounces, and he'd spit out 1, and I'd mark 1. And somehow I was able to keep 8 ounces, and then we got another ounces. So we got him out of that environment, and I was able to go to Arizona and take on a great opportunity. But now my wife has to give up her whole career.
Yeah.
I mean, here's this brilliant woman who was, when I met her, she was doing CAD CAM on a computer, doing airflow on F-16 fighters, and looking at, some of the aerodynamics of all this stuff. So at that point in time, I realized I'm going to have to be the breadwinner here. I'm going to have to be the person who's going to have to make it. How do you make a living out of being a swim coach?
Yeah.
So so we decided, so we never quite knew what it was. You know, people were looking at, you know, what is the syndrome? I didn't want to label him, because as soon as you label them, then all of a sudden they're boxed in, and then, you know, where they are. So we never quite knew what his syndrome was. He didn't actually get up and walk probably until he was 3, maybe 2, maybe it was 4. Actually, was anyway. So we decided to have a daughter, and we just thought it was an anomaly with TC. And so Shoshana was born, and absolutely brilliant. So TC is going and doing speech therapy, and we're doing all the things that, you know, we're trying to do all the therapy to do him. And my daughter's learning sign language before she could even talk, because TC couldn't speak very well. And it was like, so you're starting to go along in life, and you're like, well, it wouldn't be fair if Shauna was the only one to take care of her older brother. So let's have another child, and with that child, at least you'll have a sibling, and maybe those two can take care of their older brother.
Yeah.
Well, that plan didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
So we had Richie, and Richie was even more severe. Richie was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't walk, but and praise the Lord on this one, at age 9, right before Christmas, he just got up and walked across the room. Just
wow.
Got up and walked across the room.
Never had walked before.
Never.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was an emotional time, but still to the day, he can't talk, he can't feed himself, he can't toilet train. You know, I have to shave TC's face every Wednesday and Saturday, and I have to shave Richie, but my wife, bless her heart, I mean, her whole life is trying to figure out what this puzzle is. You know, why is this? And, you know, and you start looking at, you know, the blame. How did this happen? And you even start reflecting on God. I mean, like, am I being punished for something I did? I mean, all of these things go through your head. And with all of that, we finally were part of the genome study, and they were able to do the gene sequencing, and they identified it as, it's called ATRX syndrome. There's only like 200 documented cases of this. It's alpha thiamide recessive X gene. So my wife has 2 X's. I got the X and the mighty Y. So why, I don't know, but that's it.
That's a different show.
So it turns out that when I gave my X to her, and she had 2 X's, we were able to have females without a problem, because my X's were dominant over her recessive. But when I gave my Y, it's a 50-50 chance for one of her X's to be the recessive to take. So it is a boy, it's a male syndrome that I can have as many females. That'd be great, but
right.
but from with this recessive gene, so it's passed down on the female side. We got the news that they identified that is the reason what's going on with the boys. So what a big relief for us. Now we know what it is, and the next big step was, okay, let's have my daughter tested, and if she has that same recessive gene, then she's got to make some decisions in her family.
Yeah.
Well, once again, it was one of those moments where you just kind of had to thank the Lord, and she was tested and is not a carrier.
Oh, good.
So yeah. she can have that. Anyway, that's the story of where I am. But along the way, I mean, there's so many things you have to do, and so many things you have to give up in your life And one of it is not to be impulsive. Every decision you make, you got to look at what the consequences are. You got to make very good decisions, and you have to have a good support. But you also have to model to the rest of the world, that define the incredible things out of the gifts that each one of these, that TC has, and the gifts that people have. And that's really the lesson, is you start looking and realize that everybody has a handicap. Some people just hide it more than others. So with TC, turns out that he's OCD, obsessive compulsive. He's manic depressive. He has ADD. So then you start going down the medicine route, and you have a medicine that treats this, but it accentuates that.
Yeah.
And then, so it's all this game of trying to figure this out and figure that out, but all of a sudden you realize the guy's got an incredible memory. He's an engineer in his mind. I mean, he's always scheduling this and following that, and this has to have an order, and those are his gifts. And then extremely social, and always wants to say hi to people. So wherever he goes, everyone knows TC, and and all that. So you end up finding these flowers, in this whole world, and then you start realizing there's a lot of people just like you who are professional, well educated, and they have a similar story. And then anyway, I'm just kind of going a lot of directions here, but.
Well, let me ask you, Brent, I mean, just kind of in listening through some of the conversation here, the idea that one of the things that you've said to me is these boys have brought out a much better version of you. They've made you a better person in life. And I can't help but to think that a lot of that is the idea now that you're coming across with a lot of empathy now, like seeing how other people operate and taking kind of the sometimes we get a vision of what success looks like, of what intelligence looks like, of what strength looks like, and if it doesn't fit what our experience is, we discount it. And these boys have definitely shown you a whole different level of what gifts are and how to look at people differently. Am I on the mark there or not?
Yeah, you're on the mark. I think I've evolved to realizing that if I want to win, I first have to have someone else win. And I thought about that all the way in my coaching career. If I made you into a better swimmer and I found a way to make you be super successful, I ultimately win. Yeah. Because I'm making everyone around me win. And I think that carries over, and really, you want to, everything's routine, and you want to break away, and you want to be able to, hey, I want to go out to dinner. Well, I'm sorry, Ella and I have not taken a vacation. We've probably taken one vacation for 2 nights one time in the last 3 or 4 years, because I'm trading off. I'm here, she's there. She's there, I'm here. Yeah. Everything's coordinated, and that level of trust shows and models so much more for my daughter Shauna, because she sees that and she understands that, and then the people in my neighborhood see that. So even though you're trying to make your life work, you're also setting examples for other people on the things that are important, and ultimately it all comes back to you in a greater way, a much, much greater way. And I can go a little deeper into that, because it evolved in my management style too, with my staff and things that I do now.
Yeah, that's great stuff. You mentioned before about being mad at God. If it's all right with you, I would like to at least explore that a little bit. Like, okay, a lot of times we have folks who have a hard time believing in God because why would a good God do anything like this? What's your take on that now? What's your walk with God been, and just trying to figure out what this means to you?
Oh, I think I think I don't ever think I was mad as much as I was like, why are you holding me back?
Hmm.
And I realized that I wasn't being held back. I was actually, I was actually making something better. I'm sorry, I'm struggling here because there's so much going through my head that what has made me better is being able to now slow things down to understanding it. I have a little bit of theory here. And the theory that I have is, and I haven't shared it to many people, but we have 5 senses, all right? Eat, smell, taste, hear, touch,
Mm-hmm.
And sight. So when you're young, all 5 of those senses are working. And that's when I think why time is so slow when you're younger. And then when you get older, you start shutting off senses. You can go into a zone, and where did that 3 hours go?
Yeah.
And the reason why that goes so fast, Merle, is because you probably shut off the hearing, you probably shut off the sight, and you probably just went into something where you were just basically working on just 1 or 2 senses. But when you work with, when you're forced to work with handicapped kids, or you're faced with a challenge, you all of a sudden have to use all your senses. And that's when time really slows down and you totally connect with it. You hear about people in sports or people in a fatal crash where they said everything came to a complete stop.
Mm-hmm.
And things slowed down.
Yeah.
And it was like an altered world. That's because all of their senses are magnified. So for me, that it was really allowing me the gift that I have, the special children that I have, and I mean that in that special. Everyone says special needs, Special Olympics, but it's forcing you to stop and problem solve and figure it out and look at another way at something, and as a result, you end up really showing other people things that they never saw. And without having those kids and those children, I wouldn't be able to communicate what I'm telling you today that maybe somebody will listen to. And maybe I'm a communicator. I'm in the business of communication. I'm multimedia, but I become the vehicle to show those things. So maybe it's a greater purpose than I was aware of.
Yeah, it's definitely stretched you into new ways. I think that there's always there's something that we always talk about, through Strong Dads, and that's just the idea that we have choices to make, and the choices really are how we're going to go through a situation. And one of the things that, we talk about around here is just, are you going to be a victim or a victor? Are you going to allow this event to kind of dictate what you're going to do and be, or are you going to find a way to say, you know what, we're going to make the best out of this, and then allow it to refine you? And I always talk about the idea of, you have a choice that when you're an old man, you can be a grumpy old man or a happy old man. And the difference was the old man that's a grumpy ass, he made a choice to be a victim of everything that came his way. But the happy old man, he went through just the same amount of crap in life. But his outlook of how he was going to go through that was obviously very different. So
yeah, it's really easy to feel sorry for yourself. It's really, really easy. But when you got a wife like mine, slaps you on the head and is like, no one's gonna feel sorry for you. Why do you feel sorry for yourself? Like, well, you're right. So let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, just the value that you see in your relationship with your wife, because, you know, like you said earlier, and I know that from the business that I'm in here at Rock Solid, we see marriages break up through traumatic events, and especially through handicapped children, because it's just such a dividing force and is such an energy sucker initially, because, well, and even now still for you guys, there's a lot of energy going in to taking care of these kiddos that is probably going to be a lifetime for you. So how does the marriage how do you handle the marriage?
Well, there's a couple of little rules that we've learned along the way. First of all, I have a very intelligent wife, but she's very regimented. I mean, she's an engineer, and there's a process. There's step one, there's step two, there's step three, there's evaluation, there's a measure, and then Merle, me, I'm like, we'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got full confidence. It took a long time for her to understand that I started at Z to go to A, and it took a long time for me to figure out that she started at A and went to Z.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a growing respect on that. But I think the big thing is that when we take on projects together, and we do a lot of we own some rental properties, and we're all in, and we're always trying to do things. But when we take on a project, we found out early on that it was like, oh, you're not doing it right, and I'm doing it right, and it was disaster. So finally, we came up with a system where, like, before we even start a project, we decided who was in charge of the project. So we'd say, okay, who's going to be the chief? Who's going to be the Indian? Now, I know that's politically incorrect, but we live in Arizona. But who's going to be in charge here? And that discussion was the point where once you made that discussion, then you'd have to say, okay, then I'm going to do everything. I'm going to follow. I'm going to take your orders.
Yeah. And
that really allowed me just to, like, okay, Brent, don't argue, bite your tongue, but just be a good soldier, get it done. And then all of a sudden it would happen. So that would be my big advice for a lot of people. Before you go into something, you decide, right, you have your argument over who's going to the vision.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny, because when my wife and I started Rock Solid Families 2 years ago, the first 3 months, we didn't know if we were going to have to go get some counseling to keep our marriage together because of that. Our offices are right next to each other, and she would be weighing in on my work, and I would be weighing in on her work. And we would write podcasts together, and we couldn't say the word "the" without fighting about how to say the word "the," And so finally, it was just like, this is exhausting. And so we did exactly what you and Ellen did. We just said, listen, this is your show. You write this show, and I'll be the color guy on the radio, okay? And then the next show, it's my show to write, and she kind of has to take her place. And through that, we laugh now, but we had some struggles through that initial start.
I can only imagine. I think so. You grow to respect, and you realize there's more than one way to skin a cat, and you're going to be able to do that. And so, I think that was really important. I think my wife's. There's some people who are like A++, and there's some people who's just A-, B+, and that's fine,
Yeah.
Well, my wife said she's an A++. She's a National Merit Scholar person. So if we're going to be doing recycling, you better recycle that. And hey, how did this get in the wrong? That's over in the garbage. That should be in the recycle, And you either fight it, or you're going to say, okay, that's who she is, and that's what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
But the push to always go to perfection is kind of an underlining part of our marriage. We do that, but it's more in the product, and it's not necessarily in how we dress, or it's nothing of that nature. So that to me is really important, to set really high goals and push each other along the way, and sit back and be proud of it, and all that. But the modeling the behavior is important, because then my TC sees that, and he'll come in and he'll see cabinets that the doors are open. He'll shut all the cabinet doors, and like, we'll take it. We'll put the milk on the counter, and he'll like, oh no, that goes back in the refrigerator. So it's kind of fun seeing that. It's so. You just have to find the good in the smallest of things, and that can give a lot of pleasure. Just, you don't need to have 3 color TVs. One of them might be fine, it's
right. Yeah. Well, and you're talking about the idea of putting value in things that, have a little bit more depth to them, in terms of whether they're supporting life or whether it's generating something in somebody else, versus, like you said, do I have 2 TVs or I have 3 TVs? Well, what does that really add to the quality of my life? So investing in people, and it just so happens, our family is the first place that we really need to invest. If we're going to, really understand happiness.
Yeah, that comes back in a very long way, and it's also just being, cheering other people on all the time. I mean, it's just just putting other people in front of ourselves sometimes, and it's that can be hard, but by having handicapped children, you're forced to do that.
Yeah,
you're forced to do that, and anyway, those are all good topics.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, I just appreciate your candidness and walking through this journey and how it stretched you. But I appreciate more than anything the idea that you stay in this journey. You continue, because I know you've got a creative brain, and it's out there wanting to do a lot of different things and take on a lot of different adventures. But in the meantime, there's just things that you have a responsibility towards, and that's probably making you grow more than anything.
Yeah, I kind of leave you with this experience I had. And it doesn't relate to my family as much as it relates to the interaction with me and everybody around me, or you and everybody around you. But so out here in Phoenix, we're in the Sonora Desert, and in the in the summer, we're going into our winter. We're all inside. We just get up early in the morning, and then in the evening we go out. And so my wife and I went down to the Desert Botanical Garden, and it was the evening, and there were saguaro cactuses, which are this beautiful cactus. And I was walking down this path, and it's night, and I see this cactus like 20 feet in front of me, and it's illuminated, where all I could see this incredible cactus that was going, it's probably 20, 15 feet in the air, maybe 20, and had the arms out, and I looked at that, and I was like, how is that being illuminated? And I was looking around trying to see if there was a spotlight hitting it, or how was this thing shining, by itself, this magnificent saguaro. And then as I got closer, I looked, and around the base of this cactus were these metal reflectors, and then there was lights around the base that shined and hit the reflector, and then the light reflected and illuminated the cactus. So you had these 15 reflectors that no one saw, but they were getting 100% of the light.
Yeah.
And the cactus was just getting, 10% of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped, and I just like, that's how I want to manage. That's how I want everybody around me to shine. And if everybody around me shines and I just get a percentage of that, I can be illuminated 200%, 300%.
Yeah.
But if I get 100% of the light, I can only get 100%, and everybody will die in my shadows. Nobody else will get the light. They'll all crumble. And then I'm thinking, okay, so if I have 200 people around me getting 100% of the light, and I get 10% of 200 people, then I'm 200%.
Right.
So that's where the whole theory was, help someone else win first, and then you will win. And I think that's kind of what the lesson of being a father, being a dad was. I had no choice, Merle. I had no choice but to keep my marriage and keep my family, was to work with my wife to have my sons reach the most potential that each one of them could reach, and put them first. And I think ultimately, it's that, I think I win in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, yeah, that's for sure. And I think the people around you, like you said, the witness that you are to others, I think that's the ultimate win too, because they all start to see that. And not only have you been modeling to your children, but you model to other folks that you work with every day, or your neighbors or whoever. So I think that's a huge part of that as well. So, well, I just want to thank you for your willingness to share that story and go a little deeper than what you normally might do in a little conversation. So thanks for your time. And it's always good touching base with you.
Yep. Well, come out. Our restaurants are closed out here. So, but you're always welcome. Arizona is an incredible place. I miss Indiana. I miss the people there, and but they're always in my thoughts. So thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we just want to thank all of our strong dads out there for tuning in. And if there's anything that we can help you with, just give us a call at 812-576-7625. Brent, thank you very much again for your time. And we'll definitely be looking you up and keeping tabs on you just to see how that Hall of Fame's going, and swimming world and everything else. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.